Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash, this is HeroQuest, and someone at some point apparently dropped an image revealing or teasing, rather, HeroQuest First Light. First Light is a known HeroQuest expansion. Thanks to the EAN leaks a couple of months ago, we know that we're going to get an expansion with First Light in the title. Whether or not that's the entire title or it's subject to change is entirely unknown. It could be a character expansion as well, so the title could be partial, such as Cleric of the First Light, which a lot of people have speculated, and it could be an entirely new adventure. Some people have even said this could be a reboot to the game system itself, which a lot of people are on board with. However, this box and an accompanying 3/4 image of the same cover don't reveal a whole lot. We have some options here. We have some things to consider looking at this artwork, this arrangement of the text. And my gut instinct reaction is to look for signs of AI artifacts. And that is what I would like to do here. I'd like to really dig into this image because there are a lot of people who are going to decry that it may be fake. And I'm somewhat inclined to reserve that judgment because we did have the Jungles of Delthrak box cover, which was fake, demonstrably, but it wasn't really known whether or not that was going to be a prototype. We don't know if it was an image presented within Hasbro or Avalon Hill internally, if it was a cropped of something that was a different context, if it was just something to get the ideas flowing. And while I think that all of that is extremely likely, we do know that Jungles of Delthrak is 100% real. A lot of us have it pre-ordered. We've seen the contents, we've seen the reveals. We know that it's coming out thanks to Avalon Hill themselves. First Light we know is coming, but we don't know what it's going to be. So it's time to follow my instincts and really dig into this picture and analyze it for AI artifacts. Now, I will disclaim at this point that if we go in here and find signs of AI artifacting, that's actually sadly not going to be evidence that this is fake. It is entirely possible, however unlikely it is, that AI art would be used in the production of game systems or expansions by any company going forward. That's kind of the age that we live in. There are crowdfunds and Kickstarters using AI art. Some of them are pretty blatant about it. Others not so blatant, choosing not to say one way or the other. But never mind all of that. We can look at this image for hours and really applaud whoever put this together for their placement of all of the text, for the font in First Light, for the symbol right above the title of this particular entire new game system, I guess, because of the text here along the banner. Your hero's journey starts here. Inside this box is everything you need to start playing HeroQuest. The Avalon Hill logo, the 2 to 5 players, all of that stock standard stuff is here, but we can look a little bit further after being excited, after giving this the benefit of the doubt, seeing the symmetrical muscles, or at least the realistically symmetrical muscles of the barbarian. There's not usually a lot of great examples of AI art doing good musculature at this point in time, unless it is well prompted and filtered out, which a lot of people don't seem to have the time to do when they're creating art. But the first thing I do want to draw attention to here, this bicep and these 16 different shades used across the body of this barbarian. This is not the same art style. It's not the same artist as what created the HeroQuest cover. And for anybody out there who might have thrown this together just for the clout, just for the attention, it's gonna work probably every single time if it's good enough, because there's going to be a bunch of us that love to speculate on stuff and jump on this stuff and create content for it, obviously. But I have a bit more of an ulterior motive here. I want to react to this so that I can help people get their thoughts in order when they see things like this, and then they can make a little bit more level-headed determinations about what it is that they're seeing here. The art style of the characters themselves is it's new. It's a little bit more realistic. It's a little less cartoony. I don't know that we would see a brand change from Avalon Hill at this point as far as visuals go, but it may be possible because of the internal workings at the company, because of the mass layoffs, because we may be entering into a new age where it's more of a Hasbro product than an Avalon Hill product, if that makes any sense. And I mean no disrespect to anybody who's clutching onto this IP, because you guys are doing a fantastic job with all of the expansions and everything over there at Avalon Hill. But we'll continue looking at this image to see if we can make some determinations. Usually AI has a big red flag when it comes to hands, and there shouldn't be almost any exception to this. Hands are a huge struggle for the technology to pull off consistently. And right here, this barbarian's hand is a little bit weird. It's not as detailed, consistent with the rest of the image. I would say that this here is kind of a red flag. I would also point to the bracer on this hand being a bit of a red flag. It doesn't match the bracer on the opposite arm. It is not the same bracer that the barbarian is wearing in his 2021 card. A lot of these clothes are slightly different. They look like they're supposed to be patterned after what the characters have, but there are differences, which could be fine. It could just be a testament that, they've been on journeys, they've been on adventures. Time has passed. These guys look different. Deal with it, and that could very well be the case. I don't know that that is the case here, though. I think that this would have to be a very deliberate design decision to have this sort of cuff with just a bunch of fur flowing off of it. I don't think that, unless there is supposed to be a lot of detail here that is simply obscured, that this would be an intentional design decision to put this on this barbarian if it were by a real artist. Not saying that it couldn't be approved if it was AI art and they were trying to cut corners. That definitely could be the case, but I would say that this is a red flag. The musculature here is just about accurate. It's pretty good, but this arm here is a red flag to me. Looking at the sword and the symbols on the sword, there's a lot here that's pretty impressive as far as AI art goes, because a lot of the stuff is really difficult for AI to keep consistent. So if one side is really ornate, the other side is not going to be, so on and so forth. Usually you'll find unsymmetrical things. You'll find absence of symmetry. And that leads me to my third red flag, which is this dwarf's shield. Out of all the heroes, this dwarf, the lighting on the wizard notwithstanding, has the most differences from his original character card. And the musculature back here on both of his arms and on his legs, so basically wherever skin is present on this character, is just way off. It is really painful to look at. We've got a bunch of tiny muscles here in the forearm. We have a really awkwardly held shield being held in front. Not sure that that's where an artist would put the shield, knowing how the shield is supposed to be worn and held. This dwarf is not wielding the two-handed axe of the dwarf of the game system, but a hand axe and a shield is supposed to look pretty much the same otherwise, but our game system dwarf has pauldrons and has darker skin. This dwarf could be said to have dark skin, but his skin is pretty light, and he's just in a really weird lighting. Our dwarf of the 2021 original game system has deliberately darker skin. The hair looks okay until you get into the cheeks here. Then the cheeks are, what's this? Just dark. Could it be war paint? Our dwarf doesn't have war paint. And the ear is very strange. The rivets on the shield, though, are really what make me pretty convinced that this is all. The rivets don't follow a consistent pattern. It's a buckler that isn't even perfectly round, and we've got missing rivets all along one side. The outside of the shield boss is way off center. This would have to be an AI generated shield, in my opinion. We do have some pretty cool features across this box, though. One of the things I think is pretty cool is the inclusion of the goblins in the background. They're hiding under the caves here, poking their heads out, eyes shining, the rest of their faces and bodies obscured. This box does break a lot of design conventions for the current roster of expansions and systems from Avalon Hill's HeroQuest. But if it were a complete reboot of the game system, a new way to play, hinted at by the message at the bottom here, your hero's journey starts here. Inside this box is everything you need to start playing HeroQuest. Then the breaking of convention and the establishing of new conventions would make sense. But we're going to go on to number 5, red flag. This elf lady is not holding her sword correctly. This sword should be much lower in her hand where her fingers are against the guard. Otherwise, she's putting her hand more at risk. The guard is not doing its job as effectively with her hand that far away, and it's just more ergonomically awkward to handle. So I have to say that this is a big red flag as well. And looking at the guard itself, the two sides, sides are not symmetrical. We're not even going to talk about her armor and how it looks missing / unsymmetrical, unfinished. This is one of those images that at first glance and second and third glance is actually pretty well done. It has been doctored up very well. But the more you look at it, the more things you see and the more things you find that just shove it further and further to the pit of irrefutable evidence that it is AI generated. Does the Barbarian look like Tom Cruise to you? I think the Barbarian looks a bit like Tom Cruise. I'm not saying that that's a pro or a con, that could be either way. Can we call him Crom Cruise? I'm not sorry at all. Our wizard in the background is so small that we really don't have an eye on the details to be able to judge. He's got a lot of plausible deniability. I'm gonna leave the wizard alone. The detail on the dwarf's hand axe is quite different as well. I'm not sure what the heck it is we're supposed to be looking at here. You could flip this image upside down and it's still just weird symbology. I don't think that this, whatever the heck you would call this in the anatomy of axe making, would be here, and if it's something that's supposed to flow fluidly, it wouldn't be facing this way. Those are all of the red flags that I'm going to bring up with this image. There are others as far as the AI generation, but I'm going to let you guys dig in and figure out what those are. I think I have enough red flags for me to say this is 100% AI generated. If it was done internally, I really, really hope that that is not the case, because Avalon Hill made a point to say that the images used with the Talisman 5th edition were not AI generated. I don't see why the trend would break here now. So whoever did this image, though, well done as far as AI generation goes. You did a pretty good job hiding things, making things arranged in such a way where it was difficult to tell. The AI is just not there yet. The other big thing for me is the wordage at the bottom of the box. Your hero's journey starts here. I don't think is text that would be used by Avalon Hill to describe a HeroQuest game system. I do not think that they would say your hero's journey starts here when the game is still 2 to 5 players, as evidenced by the iconography in the lower left corner of the box. Your hero's journey. Your hero here is singular, and journey is being possessed by the hero, hence the apostrophe between hero and the letter S, and we're marketing this towards the Zargon. Now, I know that marketing jargon isn't always going to be 100% accurate to the thing that's being sold, but I really think that the wordage here is awkward. I just don't think it's exactly how they would word this. I don't think that's how they would portray the lettering either. I think that this scroll, tapestry rather, at the bottom of the box that houses the text is a bit too simplistic, and I don't see this being used on any of the official HeroQuest products. So as far as First Light, this interpretation of it, I'm going to say fake. And the reason I'm going to say fake is because of all of the AI generation and my personal belief that at this point in HeroQuest's life, Avalon Hill would not be using this form of creating an image for their brand, for their game systems. I have to tell you, if this ended up being the final product, which won't happen, but if this ended up being the final product, I would not want to display this box on my shelf. I would definitely have it flattened, pushed underneath Talisman 5th editions. I'm going to need a 5th after all of this AI generative inspection. I just think they would have to know that they would be open to a lot of criticism from people, because while it's not okay to attack people or give them personal insults or whatever because of use of AI, whether they support it, whether they don't support it, whatever the case may be, I do believe right now, and this is really going beyond the scope of this video, it is in a company's best interest to, while they could cut corners, do the thing that's going to please the most people. And HeroQuest is a very inclusive game system now. It is an extremely welcoming game system. There's a lot of things in there that really a lot of the old crowd see as catering or woke or what have you. Using that logic, I don't think they would want to anger a crowd of people who do not support the use of AI and who would rather see the art of the game's boxes be done by professionals who have a real passion for creating with their hands. Now, unlike Jungles of Delthrak, which we didn't know was going to be real 100% until the EAN leak, we know that First Light is a real expansion. We know that it's a real product, or maybe not an expansion per se, but a real product that's coming out at some point. We don't know when. We don't know exactly what it's going to be. And it very well could be a reboot of the HeroQuest game system, but it could also be an expansion. It could also be a character expansion. It could also be a book. It could be a package of furniture, and within that package of furniture are candelabras that you can set up around your dungeon, and you can turn them on and they'll emit little LED lights. That sounds awesome, actually. I want that now. And that could be where the first light comes in. It's the first time we provided lights. Is that true? Is that canon? Is that the first time we'd have lights if they did that? No, because there's candles. There's candles on the sorcerer's table, but nobody remembers that because all of their candlesticks have broken off from their original copies, not the contemporary copies. Though I'm going off on a tangent. HeroQuest's verdict is that this presentation is fake, but we do know that First Light is real. We don't know exactly what it is. It could be a new version of the game system. Some people have speculated that from the reveal at the very beginning. So we will see. But for now, I wouldn't get too excited. I wouldn't get my hopes up. I would maybe reserve a small 5% or less chance in the back of my mind that this particular presentation could be real, and that I could be very disappointed to see it if it did come to light, if it did come to first light. But for now, that's all I had to say. I just wanted to report on this box that has been evidently leaked, or at least is spreading. It will be making its rounds everywhere, and share my thoughts on it with you. So other than the AI image generation and my personal stance on AI, the person who crafted this, at least as far as AI image generation goes and filtering out bad images and whatnot, they did a pretty good job of making it necessary to inspect it closer before coming to a real decision on whether it's AI or not. Definitely AI, definitely a fake presentation. And that's it, Brave Heroes. Thank you so much for watching. Consider joining, subscribing, membering, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.